Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast. Today's guest has over 21 years of real estate experience in Jacksonville, Florida. She has owned a mortgage company, been in an underwriting, giving her an edge with clients by being that ultimate advisor. As a native of Chile, she is very involved in her Hispanic community here in Jacksonville and shares her expert advice each week on her radio show every Sunday. Today, we will learn more about this amazing agent, owner of the Ottone Group, host to Daniella's real estate show. Let's welcome Daniella Ottone to the show. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Ottone.
Ottone. Okay.
Yeah,
I got to put the little accent on the Ottone. I do that often. When I have someone's last name that might be unique, I always a mental note. I got to ask them how to pronounce it correctly, and I forgot to do that. All right, but I appreciate you coming on. And the more and more research I was doing on you, as I do on every guest that I have on, the more excited I got about the show, because I think you not only the time in the show, but you've had great success, and as a leader in the in your community, you do a lot of your title Instagram is all in Spanish,
Yes.
if I'm correct,
Yes.
and you have a YouTube channel, which I think a lot of agents are not utilizing that area, but you really are attacking you're really focused on who you are looking for as clients, is from what I can see. So I want to uncover that for the agents that might be listening. But I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. I'm going to do a little commercial here so I don't
Okay.
forget. Remy Graphics does these mugs for me, these laser engraved mugs. You have a nice hot pink one in your gift bag there for you. But Remy Graphics, RemyGraphics.com, they do all bunch of laser engraved gifts. So as everyone knows, they will do one-offs. So if you're doing a closing gift for a customer and you want to put, hey, John and Sally, welcome to Jacksonville, that she will do one or two of those at a time. You don't have to
I
order a
love
dozen
it.
at a time.
Super
So
cute. Thank
yeah.
you.
Yes. Again, RemyGraphics.com. Tell us a little bit, because what I've got on your social media and so forth, it doesn't give me a timeline, so we're going to work
Right.
through that. But you were born in Chile.
Uh-huh.
When did you come to the States?
I came in 97. 97, I came to the States. No, I get married.
Right.
My boyfriend was moved here. At the time, we were boyfriend and girlfriend in Chile. He was a professional soccer player.
Oh,
And back in 97, they opened a MLS team here in Jacksonville. It was called the Jacksonville Cyclones.
okay.
And well, they moved him here, and I was a flight attendant, and I was studying graphic design. So I went from international flights to domestic flights, so I can fly 15 days and 15 days spending it here.
Right.
And at one point, after doing that like 6 months, he was like, "Why don't you come and we get married?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll go." And came back, and that's what we did, and we got married the next week, and that's how I ended up in here.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Not really a trial and tribulations.
No.
You're fortunate enough, obviously. Imagine the travel. How long did you do that as a flight attendant?
I did 4 years flight attendant. Yeah.
Because obviously we see a lot of people that make careers out of that, and obviously love to travel. But did you kind of move off of that because you wanted to settle, or just because you were here in the States?
It's a great business to be in. I have a lot of fun, but I was staying away 19 nights in a month.
Yeah.
Because we used to fly international a lot. So it's not...
It was great for a young person.
It's great for a young person, maybe single, not a significant other that you want to keep, maybe, and not for having kids. I don't think it's the ideal
Right.
when you spend so many nights out. So once I got here, I quit, and we got married. We had kids, we
All right.
divorced, and I stood.
All right. So not too long in, as we were talking pre-show, you how did you get introduced to the mortgage business? Because it's not a high bar of entry,
Right.
but unless you like get a kind of an invite in, most people when they first enter them don't even know how to spell mortgage.
Right.
So
Right.
how did you get introduced to that in the early 2000s?
Well, it kind of lines out with me getting divorced because I got here, and of course, as many Latinos or foreign people that come to the country, you don't have, the paperwork yet. You don't have. So I started cleaning houses. I cleaned houses for a while. And then once I got my Social Security and I was able to work, I got into collections. I did collections. And from then I gravitated to mortgage collections.
At one time, I remember back in that time, I remember I was, I ran into, there's a lot of collection companies here in Jacksonville,
Yes.
aren't there?
Yes, yes, a lot of them.
Yeah.
So I did mortgage collections. I did 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Then I became a supervisor for Bank of America collections. It was the EquiCredit, Nations Credit. Remember Nations Credit back on the day?
I remember Nations Bank.
Yeah, well, Nations Bank was purchased by Bank of America.
Yes.
And we had that portfolio.
Okay.
So we were doing 60 days. Then I became a supervisor. Then I was a loss mitigation supervisor. And then they lay out everybody. And I went to my boyfriend crying, oh, I got laid off. And the boss was there. He used to be a loan officer. And he was like, you want to work? And I was like, yeah. He said, okay, there's your desk. Go and work. And I was like, okay, I'll come tomorrow. Let me have a break one day. So I went the next day. I became a loan officer. And then I figured out that it was great being a loan officer at that time. I'm talking 2001.
Yeah.
2002, around that time. And I figured out the business and I opened my own brokerage later on.
Did you quickly, as if someone looks at your business now, you're really focused on your Hispanic community. Did you find you immediately started to make some relationships at that time that really kind of accelerated your business to say, hey, I can do this myself?
Yeah, because at that time, 97, in Jacksonville, there was not many Hispanics. But it was a community that was really underserved.
Right.
The few ones that were here, they were really underserved. And the minorities in general. So I became the loan officer at that time for the minorities. That's what I did.
Yeah.
And I started flipping houses and, that kind of stuff until I was able to get my brokerage license. And I opened up I did a business partnership with 2 loan officers that were working together. And we went and we opened our own.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So obviously you're entering the brokerage business as things are getting crazy.
Yes.
I got in 2005, and they were still doing those they had different names for them, but the optional payments, right? They could do negative AM and pick up payments. Yeah.
The Nina,
yeah. They were still doing. Yeah, they were still really. I mean, we were Nina, Sissa, all those types of crazy type stuff, and I know this market. Florida in general, and it was. It was going crazy, and the price points of homes were just going up through the roof so fast because money was so footloose and fancy free.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a lot of subprime lending.
Yeah.
At that time.
Because there was a lot more. The payday was a lot bigger.
Right.
On those for what you were doing, and I think a lot of people forget. It's funny. I was rewriting. I'm approved to teach an intro to real estate finance with Florida Realtors.
Okay.
And I was asked to teach it next month. So I went and looked at it. I was like, oh my God, this needs to be updated. So me and ChatGPT went through the whole thing. I uploaded it. We uploaded, but the thing, when we talk about ARMs, adjustable rate mortgages, like no one has talked about ARMs for over a decade now.
Back now again.
Because the yield curve is inverted. That was another thing I had to actually put into the class that there's, we use the term inverted yield, but most people have no idea what that actually means. And, who asks for a 15-year mortgage anymore when you can get a 30 for a quarter or 0.5% higher? Why would, that type of thing. And then the adjustable rate mortgages, because the short-term rates are so, again, another for a quarter point, so no one even talks about them right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think they, we need them to come back. I think the economy would be healthier, with that situation. But back at that time, they were big, especially in that subprime money.
Yes, 2-year ARMs, 3-year ARMs.
Yeah. And that's where people got in trouble because those loans didn't have the guidelines as they should, the compliance.
I think people did not prepare to that change. Those loans were given too loosey. To everybody because anybody can qualify for those ARMs.
Yep.
And they were normally people with bad credit, maybe with their income not as solid as should be.
Yep.
So when that time came in, they couldn't
Yeah.
refinance, and then
We were doing a lot when I first got started at Quicken Loans in 2005. We were doing a lot of these. I mean, people were taking 50,000 because the value of their homes were going up so much. They were taking 50 grand out to pay off credit cards. And again, like they didn't have great credit, so they could get on this ARM, and that rate was close to what everyone else was paying, and saying a 30-year fixed on a normal loan. And so like, oh, this is great, but not realizing, you know, obviously they had, you know, some of them had prepayment penalties on them, and you know they adjusted and wasn't pretty enough, which put us into 2008, which is where we're at. When your story here, 2008 comes around, and I remember that. I think it was the summer of 2000. No, it was summer 2008. Man, it was quiet. It was like crickets.
Horrible.
The phone, you know, to get someone on to talk about, especially when I was because I was still at Quicken, but now I was working from home. It was crickets.
Yeah.
You know, to get the phone to ring, and you know, we're dialing out to try to get, you know, people going online, but people were, I mean, really everything shut down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was really, for me, it was super hard. I think I still have that PTSD.
Yeah.
Because we did really good. When we opened doors in 2004, we started growing. We ended up having 3 branches. I had an office in St. Augustine, Jacksonville, and Orlando. We have 46 loan officers under us.
Oh, wow.
We were doing great.
Yeah.
And we had 184, I remember, lenders that we used to work with. From December to January, those 184 turned into 60. By the time February came, half of them were filing bankruptcy and they were not closing loans. So we were seeing like grabbing this loan from here, trying to put it over here, trying to close that little bit of stuff that we had going. By March, I was closing doors.
Wow.
Because I went down with absolutely everything. You know, there was nobody closing. The lenders got really, really strict guidelines at that point. Nobody wanted to close anything. And
yeah. Well, I remember too the struggles of, you know, value, because it wasn't like right now, you know, we're not seeing low appraisals. I don't know. I haven't seen one. Have you ever seen one recently? A low appraisal?
No, I think I got one like maybe 2,000, 3,000 below, but not a big deal.
Right. And back then that was you got significantly low because people thought their homes were, you know, based on what 06 was showing, and all of a sudden you go to 07, 08, they didn't realize how fast it was dropping.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, we'd have people, you know, calling, hey, I want to refinance my home. You know, basically the process at Quicken was, yeah, I think my home's worth this. Okay, great. We're out, we're in process. That appraiser comes back, and the appraisal comes back, and it's, you know, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 light, and it doesn't work anymore. Yeah. So you one of the points in your life where you get kind of punched in the gut.
Yes.
You got to reset. What is Daniella thinking about now? The mortgage business is out. What are you doing, and how do you reset yourself?
For me, it was horrible because I was by myself at this time. I'm divorced. I have 2 young kids, and I'm not getting hired. I go from business owner, you know, all this stuff, and
46 loan officers is amazing.
Nobody's hiring at that time. Yeah, and the ones that they are hiring, they're not trying to hire somebody with so much experience like that. So I had to start kind of toning down the resume. I ended up being without a job for a year. It was super, super difficult for me. Even it came to a time that I had to call, you know, the father of my kids and say, please keep him for 6 months. Give me 6 months. I'll work in whatever I have to do.
Right.
Just let me get up, because I didn't even have money at that point to, you know, put gas in my car. It was either putting gas or feeding the kids kind of thing.
Right.
And it was horrible. Really, really, really bad. That's why I'm thinking like I still have kind of that PTSD on that time. My job, the first job that I was able to get was on Dave & Buster's. They gave me a part-time job for $8 an hour. So I went from making all this money during the great mortgage time to $8 an hour, and they only gave me 4 hours. So I started asking the teammates, like, hey,
do you want to take some time off?
You want to take some time off? I'll take your hours. And I was taking the hours.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, Washington Mutual called me. We need you for underwriting. There was a boom for the loan modifications.
Yes.
So I started doing loan modifications with Washington Mutual. And then I did great in Washington Mutual, became, you know, underwriter at that point. And then JP Morgan bought Washington Mutual, so I became JP Morgan Chase. And then I was an underwriter for Wells Fargo, senior underwriter. I had to go and train underwriters. And then when we came back, they lay off everybody because the underwriters in that area were cheaper than us.
Right. They just created a call center type environment or one
Right.
big cube. Yeah.
So at that point, I said, okay, no more mortgages for me.
Yeah.
I went back to college and I studied aesthetics. Nothing to do.
You want to get out of it.
I wanted to get out of it. But in the meantime, because I still have my customers, you know, that they were still calling me to buy houses.
Right.
I was like, you know what? I'll get my real estate license. I'll sell them houses in the meantime because I can combine that with going to college, with raising the kids,
Right.
with, you know, trying to do other stuff. And I did that. So I did college. I graduated. I started working in aesthetics. I went on the medical side of aesthetics. And I was doing both things. I was showing houses
wow.
in my uniform and until I got to the point that I was going crazy.
Yeah.
My two jobs, I had two full-time jobs, and then I dropped completely the aesthetics and became real estate agent.
So you had obviously this vast experience in lending from multiple sides, underwriting, the back office, modifications of loans,
everything, yeah.
obviously originating up front, and now you go over to real estate. What in this, and then doing it part time and just trying to trudge your way through one deal at a time.
Yeah.
What is it you realized you didn't know?
How much, you know, there has always been this relationship between loan officers and realtors. And I understand now why loan officers don't like too much, you know, the input of the realtor, because real estate's really, they teach you the law on real estate and, you know, what things not to do, how to write a contract, but you don't know what is behind the scenes to get this loan done. And I think that right now my background on mortgages, on all that part, on the underwriting side, has given me has made it so much easier for me, because I kind of structure the customer before I send it to you. And when I send it to you, it's a customer that is going to pre-approve.
Yeah. Because you've asked some of the baseline questions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I kind of like filter them out.
Like, where's your money coming from?
Exactly. I kind of run numbers with them. I cannot pull credit, none of that stuff. But if I have to fix a credit, I know the tools to fix a credit quick. So in 2 months, I have them with the credit up.
Right.
If we have to work on DTI, okay, well, you know, lower these credit cards. Let's do this. You know, get another job. Something. Let's find a cosigner. So I run numbers for them. So when I send it to the loan officer, it's a good one to go.
Yeah. No, 100%. Because I wrote down, because I didn't think about this earlier, but because you just made a statement about the relationship between the realtor and the loan officer. I mean, like you said, you're doing a lot of the front work up front,
right?
That the loan officer sometimes has to do for the real estate agent, which is fine. I mean, we understand, because I know, as I'm sure you've experienced, because you're coaching and mentoring other agents, because they don't have your background.
Right.
They don't have the finance background in mortgages, so they don't know what to ask. They're a lot of times afraid to ask.
I teach them all that.
Yeah.
I teach them my way.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, some of the basic questions. A lot of agents though are afraid. They're like, where's your money coming from? You know, they're afraid to ask that a lot of the questions, because obviously I have coffee and lunch with them, and I discuss, and I could totally understand that part of it. But how important is it that you found, because you've been on both sides, that just like an agent or a loan officer loves to have that client that calls them, refers them, that kind of thing, but also creating that relationship with a solid lender, so you do have that open dialogue to converse, and how that makes it easy. Because I imagine that's what you're looking for in anyone you work with, because you're on both sides, have been on both sides.
I don't care which lender they're with.
Yeah.
I follow the person. For example, I do work a lot with one lender that we used to be competition in Jacksonville, because at that time there was not many Hispanic, bilingual loan officers in
Right.
Jacksonville. So she was in one company, I was in another one, and we kind of used to compete for the same customers. When I became a real estate agent, I looked for her. I was like, look, I know how you work.
Right.
I remember you.
Right.
So let's work
And she's
together.
seasoned. She's
Right,
been
she's seasoned,
yeah,
right, and
yeah.
she went through that timing, which is different from the new loan officer that didn't go through that time, 2008.
Right.
That, or maybe even before that, because you had to be a creative financing. You have to kind of figure it out how to
Yeah.
help that customer. So she has switched companies, I think probably like 5 times already.
Yeah.
and I follow her
Yeah.
because their communication is great. She knows the kind of customer that I work with.
Right.
She looks for that lender with that type of product that is going to help my kind of customer, and the dynamic has worked great.
Yeah. I don't there's a lot of well, I think we're in a period of transition. I think I was talking to someone this morning. We're going to see it. We're going to get the numbers as the year comes out, because we're going to see who renews, because obviously, mortgages, because it's the calendar year. So
Yeah.
we know in January how many
January.
people haven't renewed. In the real estate world, it's a moving 2-year thing, but I think a lot of people have dropped out. But we'll see as we go into 25, there's been a lot of cleansing.
Right.
And I think real estate agents, to be a little biased, because I have been in the business 19 and a half years, and you need to find those loan officers who do know how to dig and get a deal done, or at least someone used the analogy of chewing all the chicken off the bone.
Right.
To find those loan officers that aren't just they look at it, they don't know how many credit reports that they pulled in their entire career.
Right.
I think one thing I always tell people is I was in the call center for 12 years.
Okay.
We pull more credit reports in a week than most of these loan officers are probably pulling in a month, if not the entire year right now, type of thing, because it's all volume. They wanted you pulling 3 or 4 credit reports a day and talking to people. And so you're seeing all these issues, because as everyone is a little different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every deal is different. That's
Yeah.
the fun part of our
Yes.
business. Though.
Yeah.
I love that, because every customer is different from the other, the background, everything. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's where experience pays off.
Yeah.
You start every transaction,
Yeah.
because even as long as both of us been in the business 20 years, we still haven't seen there's always
Right.
something new next month.
Right.
Yeah, that we have never
Even
seen
in
before.
guidelines, they're always
Yeah.
evolving. There's always changing. So you're always
Yeah.
studying what is coming up next.
Mhm.
So it's always changing business, which is great.
Yeah.
I love that part.
Yeah. Actually, creating that course, the one thing that course did not have was talking about the DSCR loans, and bank statement loans, which
Right.
are the kind of the alternative lending
Right.
that is out there today versus when we first started.
And we're using them a lot right now.
Yeah.
The SCR is great for an investor that
Right.
kind of like already run through all their income, and they can show the income on paper.
The only thing tough about it is finding, because of where the interest rates are at, to get that property to keep that payment
At
under
that
to make that work.
Yeah.
The bank statement loan, I was very surprised with, at least the company we work, because the lenders that those that are listening, the lenders that you see every day, whether it's Town Bank Mortgage or Chase or whatever, they don't actually do the bank statement
Right.
loans. It's these alternative lenders that you don't know, but they only deal with lenders that are feeding them business. They don't deal directly to the public.
Right.
So but they're out there and they're hungry.
Yeah.
And I think we had this one I closed yesterday, this bank statement loan. I think we had at least probably 3.5 exceptions. I mean, but they were hungry, and it's all about how much money they're putting down.
Right.
And they got to have reasonable credit. They got to show they make payments. They're not their credit's not there, then that they're not going to make any exceptions.
Well, for me, for example, it's great, the 12 months bank statements loan for a truck driver. You know, there's a lot of Latino truck drivers, and the truck driver makes a lot of money on a monthly basis. But when you look at their taxes, they have so many deductions, that the income sometimes is not enough for the standard of life that they're used to have.
Right.
So they don't qualify for the kind of house that they would like to qualify based on tax returns. So 12 months bank statements is great for us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we use a lot for truck drivers.
And those are listening, just to advertise. It doesn't take long. Just get them there. Get their 12 months bank statements, complete bank statements, every single page, even the blank one that's last.
Yes.
Because if it says there's 6 pages and you only send 5 for that month, they will ask you for the 6th page. And we upload it to them, and generally I've had them come back and just within a couple hours. Oh yeah,
Right.
this is the income we can use for this person.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the transition. You're getting into real estate now. You drop all the other jobs that
Right.
you're doing.
Uh-huh.
Now the brokerage you choose at this time. Tell us a little bit about that. Why you were hanging your sign at that brokerage. Was there a benefit or just a place to thing? And the reason why I asked that question is I think one of the reasons why a lot of real estate agents fail is the brokerage they
They choose.
decide to go doesn't guide them. They don't know what they're doing and didn't know to look for a brokerage that
Right.
will fit their needs.
Well, at that time, I went with. Can I give you names?
Yeah, that's
I
totally up
went
to you.
with I went with I&I Realty, which is like an international real estate company. Most of the agents in there are foreign. So I went with them, and it was 100% commission.
Mhm.
The reason why I went with them is because I didn't need much training. I have been already in the industry for so long
You had a confidence level.
that I already, yeah, and I have kind of my pipeline of customers.
Mhm.
So the support that I needed wasn't that much. I went with them, and then I transitioned to another company that a friend of mine opened. So he opened a brokerage, and I was like, no, I'm comfortable where I am. He was like, please help me here, help me grow, and I want to do, I'll make you the head of the Spanish department, whatever.
The Spanish department.
I was like, okay, well, the only Spanish is me. What am I gonna do? But we went from, I was his number 4 agent at that moment, to 250 agents.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and
Wow.
then, well, he ended up closing doors. A situation
Just bad
aside,
business
yes,
practices. Yeah.
bad business practices, exactly.
Mhm.
And I went with the XP Realty.
Okay. Did you when you I didn't ask this question when your boyfriend at the time
Mm-hmm.
invited you to come and stay here in Jacksonville?
Uh-huh.
Did you already have English as a second language?
Well, yes, yes. I studied in a British school in Chile.
Mm-hmm.
So I finished high school. In Chile, it's kind of mandatory for you to learn English. So I had a good level of English, but it was British. So I was very proper. I was like, how do you do?
Yeah.
And people would look at me like,
Yeah.
what is she saying? So I had to kind of learn the lingo.
Right.
I had to learn,
The sarcasm,
Yes.
it was funny. I remember in high school, we went over to Sweden. We did this kind of wasn't an exchange. We actually went over to play basketball, did some homestays and stuff. And if we wanted to, my classmates wanted to speak together and didn't want them to understand what we were saying. If you spoke with slang
Yeah.
and sarcasm, they can't, that just throws them off if you're
To
learning
me-
proper English.
Right, that's how it was to me. I remember going home one time and I had one of my coworkers. I was working in Bank of America at that time, and he used to live in the same apartment complex I was living. So he's coming out and coming in, and he rolls the window. He said, "Hey, holler at me later," and I'm like, "What? Holler at me later?" And I'm thinking, like, why this guy wants me to yell at him later on? Like, I didn't get it. I was like, okay. And then I had to go home. I called a friend. I was like, what does he mean? To holler? He was like, he wants you to call him. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know.
That's funny.
Yeah.
All right. So but what are some things that you were doing at that time? You know, you had your client base from the mortgage thing, but you took some time off. You come back, so you, as you just mentioned, you moved brokerages, but you felt you still had your circle that you were getting business out of.
Right.
But what were some of the things you're doing? Because now we're kind of, pre-social media, that sort of thing. What were some of the business practices that you were doing that you felt just
At that time?
Yeah.
Oh, I was doing everything. I was knocking doors. I was doing flyers. Everything was kind of manual.
Yeah.
I was going to events, trying to find people. I went to businesses because My market was always the Spanish market.
Mm-hmm.
So I would find companies that they were mainly Spanish employees, Latino employees, or minority. And I would go to their companies. I'll bring my box of donuts and, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I would like to do a presentation in front of them. Can I do that? So I started doing what I call the lunch and learns. So I would take pizza and I would tell them, hey, give me 30 minutes. I'll do a presentation in front of your employees while they're eating. Can I
Right.
feed them lunch? And they were like, okay. So everybody would allow me to feed them lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And I would use that 30 minutes to kind of do a presentation and tell them how easy it was to buy a house in Jacksonville and bring my loan officer and give them business cards. And that's how I started growing the pipeline. But Saturday mornings, I would go and knock on neighborhoods. I would kind of farm and do my flyers and knock on the doors.
Yeah.
And tell them, hey, I'm your neighborhood real estate.
What challenges do you find in, me being in the lending 19 and a half years, I've seen it, but not at the volume that you were dealing with, because you were focused on that,
Mm-hmm.
the Spanish to Hispanic market everywhere there. The challenges that they have that some of them you have to work through, like long term, getting their finances together so they can actually document correctly
Oh, of course.
their income. What are some of those challenges, and if you could maybe share some stories or some situations where you took someone who, like, nobody could lend to this person, but we worked on it for I imagine some of them for years to
Yeah.
get their stuff squared away, that then you could actually get
Well,
them a loan.
with the Spanish customers, the Latino customers, we come from different backgrounds as far as, financial, how you call it,
Literacy.
literacy.
Yeah.
That was the word I was trying to
Yeah.
find. So some of them literally, they don't believe in banks.
Yeah.
Most of them will actually hide the money under the mattress.
Yeah.
Or, somewhere in the house. They don't believe in putting the money in the bank account. So you have to teach them, okay, well, go to this bank, open up a bank account. Oh, well, I don't speak English. I don't know how to open it. I will go with them. I
Yeah.
will translate and help them open the bank account. Teach them how to manage credit cards, because they don't know. And then they don't believe on debt because they want to pay everything cash. And, in here, for you to have a score, you have to actually get in debt.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have to teach them, okay, well, this is how you treat the credit. This is how you do this. And this is the percentage of your credit card that you have to kind of not get past. You have to teach them all that.
Yeah. Do you find the ones that were more raised here
Mm-hmm.
versus mom and dad who came from Colombia, for example,
Right.
they are doing it, if you want to call it the American way?
The American way? Yeah, the second generation is normally doing it the proper way now.
Right.
It's just the first flow of family members. When they come here, you have to think it's a different language.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different system.
Well, they didn't trust the banks, because I imagine in their countries.
And they don't trust people in general,
Yeah.
because a lot of people take advantage of them. And that's kind of what made me get into my community, because it was very unserved and a lot of people were taking advantage of them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got into it. So when the customer comes to me, I kind of grab them from scratch. You want to buy a house? Perfect. Let's meet. Let me ask you all these questions. Let me ask you how you make your income. Where do you put your money? How do you organize your finances? Let's build your credit. Let me teach you how to build a credit. And that's how I get my referrals.
I believe, my perception is the average real estate agent only sees 60, 90 days in advance. When you're doing what you're talking about,
Oh, I have a pipeline.
you got to be looking sometimes years
Yeah.
out there. And you're going to put some time and effort into this individual,
Right.
and that hopefully in 2 years will be eligible to get a loan and buy a home.
Yeah.
When did you, is that something that you just intrinsically, that you came with, you were just brought up with, to have that mentality? Because I think a lot of agents deal with this. They get in the business, they're only looking 60, 90 days out, if that. They're not looking at long term. You know, they're not focused on the client, getting great service here. Maybe they don't buy now, but they're going to buy here. But they might give me 3 referrals in the next 4 years,
Right.
which would be huge.
Mm-hmm.
If you had every client that you ever had give you give you a referral a year,
Right.
you're like on top of the world,
Right.
right? But to have that long term mentality.
Well, yeah, because when I got into real estate, a real estate agent is as good as the last transaction. Because then you close the transaction and what? You don't have another one coming in. So now you have to go and dig and try to figure out the next customer.
Right.
And that's why the average real estate agent closes like 3-4 transactions a year, I think. That's how they do the average one. That's not what I wanted. I wanted to build up a pipeline that was going to continuously giving me.
Right.
So I don't mind working with a customer that is ready to close a year from now, 2 years from now, if that's what we have to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I have the customer that is ready for 30 days. I have the customer 60, 90, 120, and I have a pipeline that is continuously moving.
Yeah.
Because I have lined them up. And when you work with people and you give them your time and you teach them on how to do things better when they come here, and you teach them how to grow here, and I open businesses for my customers. I have had customers that they were contractors, doing carpentry here and there. And I'm like, you know what? You're making great money. Why don't you open your company? Hire some employees under you. Let me help you doing that.
Right.
I'll open the company for them for free. I don't even have to charge them. It takes me, 5 minutes to do it? I
Right.
have opened companies before. So the customer becomes really faithful to you, very loyal to you. And one of the things on the Latino community, we are loyal like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you do a good business for me, I'm going to refer you people. And that's how I started growing.
Yeah. I've noticed my experience with working with people that weren't born here.
Mm-hmm.
I go back to, over 20 years ago. Before I got the mortgage business, I was in telecommunications, and I was working for Alltel.
Okay.
And I was running the store in Naples, Florida, downtown Naples. Well, Naples has a lot of foreign influence from all over, not only Europe, but Central and South America and so forth. I had the most diverse staff. The ones that wanted to work were open for coaching, were open for they felt in me that I wanted to make them more money,
Mm-hmm.
make them better so they
Right.
could make more money. It was that, that whole thing, which is kind of the same mentality you have. They were the most dedicated, loyal people I could find. I really enjoyed working with them because I wanted to give, I wanted to add value like you are doing.
Right.
And they were giving it back by their loyalty and, patronage,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the way you treat people.
Yeah.
Especially when you're foreign and you're coming here and you don't know anybody. You leave your family behind. There's some cases that if you start talking to people that come maybe from Cuba, right now from Venezuela, that they had to, cross the forest,
Mm-hmm.
get in a boat, and they're risking their lives to get
Yeah.
here. They're coming here for an opportunity.
Yeah.
And they're not afraid to work. Like we all come here and we all, like I did, I
Yeah.
start cleaning houses, you
Yeah.
do something that maybe you're not used to do in your country, but it's work. And when somebody opens the door for you, you're grateful for that.
I'm gonna bring. This is a good segue into our grit segue,
Okay.
Because you have some grit stories. You have some. You mean being a single mom, and like you said, you like. Had to ask their father to take them and you were willing to go out and take whatever job you find and, wait tables, whatever it was. That's a grit story in itself there. And I've had a few over the few hundred episodes that I could recall that were like that and are truly inspirational. So anyone listening, but
Thank you.
so, we talked about it earlier because I was prepping you a little bit. Obviously you love real estate.
Yes.
You found a niche. You found I think I'm curious how you're going to answer the question because I don't think it's actually real estate that you actually love. It's going to be something else. You're going to tell me, but I have a feeling what it is because I could just feel it. What your story. So I really feel grit in my presence is LLC, love, laughter, and consistency we talked about. So tell us a little bit. Why do you love what you're doing right now?
I love helping people.
Yeah.
I love helping people. I love to see the evolution of them. Like sometimes they cry at closing because they didn't feel that they could ever had the chance to buy a house in here. Gosh, I cry with them.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's as emotional as it is to them because you go through the entire process with them and you see them, how much effort they put. And no, to me, that is super gratifying.
I think Americans take a lot of things for granted because in some of these countries, the chances of them ever owning real estate themselves is not high.
Right, exactly. Like, I have the fortunate to come from Chile is one of the countries with the most steady economy in South America. You don't see many Chileans in here. Actually, we're one of the 6 countries that the U.S. doesn't require a visa to come here because our economy is so steady. But you have countries like Central America, countries that are going through right now situations like Venezuela right now. They're going through a situation that they are forced to get out and start all over again. And when you're in the middle of your life, when you created something already in, where you're from, and having to come here and start all over again, maybe now with kids, and you're grown, and
language barrier,
and the older you get, the harder it is to learn a language. So it's very hard. And to me, I take a lot of pride on helping them and on grabbing them and saying, okay, you can do it. It's not hard. Just this is the steps that you have to do. It's not difficult to buy a house. It's not.
And the high that you get, again, seeing their smile, they're crying. And when someone is loyal to you, when you're doing something that you just love doing, you get up, and the fact that I'm sure there's gifts, there's people are just pouring into you as you poured into them. It was just natural for you to do, but to see it come back just gives you just this huge high.
Yes. Like yesterday, I had customers at the office. They came from Orlando to see me. There's a lot of loan officers and real estate agents in Orlando.
Right.
But they got referred to me from somebody here local. They drove from Orlando to only see me. They went back to Orlando yesterday. And I was like, we ended up talking about some new construction stuff. So they're coming back on Friday so I can show them houses to just drive here to see me and then go back. And I'm like, what?
They want to move over here to Jax.
They want to buy investment properties here in Jacksonville.
Great. Yeah. All right. So the second part is the laughter part. And if you could share with us, again, you've been through, I can see you kind of bread and water situations. And if you've never actually been in that where your checking account is either like in single digits or negative, when you're like going, or how can I stretch my meals out? You're there. Like you said, trying to find that next, the next thing that's going to take you. But today, you're at your 84 transactions this year. Probably, what are you going to end with? The 90? I'm sure you got a few in the pipe that are going to close this month.
I have 5 more closing.
5 more. So almost 90 transactions for the year. Just amazing numbers. You've got a successful team and pouring into the agents that you have. The curveballs come at you now.
Okay.
Setbacks. Based on your life experience, what are some of the things that, something that's happened maybe recently that you laugh about? It's a challenge, but now it's like, all right, I figured it out 100 other times before. I'll figure this out.
Okay. And customers on
situations
like that.
I'm putting you on the spot basically there.
We're talking right now about, having somebody that you grab them from scratch and kind of build them. So I had this situation with this customer. His credit score was like 480. And so I kind of like started helping him building the credit up. He didn't have the savings account because he was having, all the money in his mattress or whatever he was having. So I was like, okay, start depositing this money into the bank account, start doing this, lower the credit cards. I gave them some tips to increase the credit. I built his credit score in 3 months from 480 to 730.
Wow, in 3 months.
this guy goes on vacation to Utah and comes back with a new pickup truck that the car payment was $1,300.
Oh, God.
I wanted to kill him. I was like, why did you do that? Like, you killed your deal. Return that car. Like,
Right.
and he was like, no, I really love the truck. I don't want to.
Well, now you got to sleep in it.
I was like, well, I told him, I said, I hope you can put a toilet on that one because you're going to have to live in that truck now because there's nothing I can do for you until we figure out more income for you or co-signers or something. But now you're stuck with this $1,300 payment truck.
People don't realize they got to be, the cars are killers right now.
They are.
The payments that, unfortunately, because the cars have gotten more expensive. Obviously, interest rates are up on top of that. I mean, the manufacturers are sometimes, doing these 0% for 72 months, but that doesn't mean you go out and buy more car. Right. And it is throwing the whole debt ratio off. But you laugh now, right?
I laugh now,
Probably years ago you might have cried. Now you just laugh because you're like, I've seen this before.
Yes. And that just happened a few months ago.
Yeah. What do you think, and I'm sure this has evolved over your time as you evolved as an agent, a businesswoman, and so forth, but what do you think are some of the consistently things that you're doing in your business or in your life that you're doing right now that really keep you moving forward? I mean, to do 90 transactions, you must be doing some fundamental steps in your life, in your business.
I think that in real estate, like any other business, you don't have to be the smartest person to make the most money. You have to be consistent. You have to be consistent. You have to be able to get up in the morning and do what you have to do, even when those days you might not be getting a new transaction, even when you might not be getting a customer to, get them pre-approved and try to show them something. Right. But you have to consistently work the business. I don't think that if anybody that wants to be an entrepreneur or wants to work for themselves is cut for that, sadly, because not everybody has that mentality or that getting up in the morning and doing something even when you're not getting paid that day.
Right.
Most of the people actually need to kind of punch a card. They need to get up in the morning. I'm in. You have your 30-minute break. You have your lunch break, and then check out at 5 o'clock because they kind of need to be forced to go somewhere. To me, I kind of grew up in a family that they were all entrepreneurs, like they were all business owners.
Right.
So I kind of grew up with, my dad used to have a grocery store when I was a kid. My dad had us working since we were little. We were bagging stuff. We were, bringing stuff. We became cashiers at one point when we grew up. So I have been working all my life.
Right.
So for me, getting up in the morning and doing something for the business, even when it's not giving you that gratification and that moment, to me is, you have to build a business.
Yeah.
So for me, that has been kind of it.
Yeah. I want your opinion. What do you think of? You see some of these agents. They come into the business. There's some of them that I think are wise enough that they understand themselves and understand what you just explained. That they have to have some sort of structure or some sort of, you go to work. Maybe you put on your uniform. Maybe it is a tie or a nice dress, and you that's your work attire. You're going to now. You're at work. And they can function from home. But I think more people need the office more than they actually realize they need that office. Like, hey, I'm going to be there at 8:30 because I know Daniella's coming in and I want to be there when she comes in. So because she's pouring into me as an agent and helping me develop, I need to show my return gratification that I'm showing up and appreciating what you're providing from your tutelage. Tell us, how do you work this in? How do you build this as your culture of your team? Tell us a little bit about the team, but the culture of the team to have that kind of attitude.
Well, I recently moved. Well, not recently. July last year, we moved into a bigger space. So now we have not just our office, we have an accountant in the office as well. We have a training room, we have a conference room, so we have a bigger space now. But the agents, they know that they can come in anytime. They have their desk. they have their space. If they have a customer that they want me to do the initial interview with them, I they'll add it to my calendar, and I'm normally at the office, so they have that freedom to come in anytime, ask questions. They just knock into my door and they just come in.
Yeah.
So
Do you have I mean, when you first bring somebody on, I mean, like, do you have a sit down with them? Obviously, you have a sit down with them, but I mean, like, say, hey, I'm gonna give you my 20 years of experience, but this is what I need from you.
well, the way that I
or expect
approach
from
it,
you.
I don't talk too much business on the phone. Like when the customer calls me, I want to buy a house. Okay, perfect. When would you like to come to my office? Let's sit down and talk. So when they are in front of me, I tell them, okay, well, talk to me. What do you want? What are you looking for? What are your goals? And I kind of structure it based on their goals, because not everybody has the same goals. Like
Yeah.
you might want to come for an investment property, but maybe you want.
Well, I was talking more particularly the team, your
for the
agents.
team.
Yeah, your
Okay.
agents, like, because you don't want to bring a bad apple into your team. You know, spoil the bunch, right?
Yeah.
So you must set some sort of level of standards.
I do. Actually,
Yeah.
I had an interview yesterday with a new agent, and she's coming on board. And I was telling her, like, look, I'm going to interview you. Let me, I'll tell you how we work, how we operate as a team. I'll tell you how EXP operates, so you understand EXP, and then how we work as a team.
Right.
But I don't hire everybody. We are 25 right now, but it's 25 handpicked. Like, I don't hire experience. I don't mind if you just came in with your license, just like fresh out of I don't mind that. I'll teach you what you need to know to learn the business, but I hire personality.
Right.
I don't want a bad apple. I don't want somebody negative in the team. I don't want somebody kind of like putting thoughts into people that are not. No, I want all positive, get going. We do a lot of events together. We do a lot of stuff as a team.
Right.
So we all get along and we all help each other in the team. There's nobody's gonna hide something from you in order for you not to progress.
Tell us about there's got to be some things though that you want. For instance, this new agent is going to come in. What's the next 30 days going to look like for them?
Okay.
Do you because I imagine you've worked out, you're probably always tweaking it a little bit, but worked out a structure to get them ramped up, to get them up to speed.
I put them in a boot camp. I have my boot camp is a 6 weeks boot camp that they come and is in the office.
Right.
So I start by systems, because when you get out of the license, you just know law and you barely know anything else. So I teach them the systems. Okay, well, these are going to be the systems that you're going to use the most. Then I have 2 weeks of contract. Is why this line, why you mark this, why you have to take a look at this, why you have to be always paying attention to these dates. These are the calendar days. This is the date that is going to start up everything on the. So I go, and those are the most boring days, contracts.
Yeah.
But we go through contract, then I teach them listing presentation, then I teach them marketing, then I teach them numbers. I actually teach them how to calculate DTI. I teach them how
A little mortgage 101.
Yes, I teach them how to read credit. I teach them how to read an appraisal. They know how to read title. I teach them my background, my underwriting part. I bring normally like a lender and tell the lender, okay, well, tell them what are the new products out there. How do they get qualified? What are you looking for? What kind of documents do you need initially to start your pre-approval? Right. So all that. So by the time they get out with the 6 weeks, they are ready to go.
Yeah. And
then the next step, the next 3 transactions, we do them 50-50. That is mandatory. This for every agent coming in, because we're going to work those 3 transactions together. So we do those 3 50-50, and then they're in their own with their own commission. And, if they're at the 80% split, they make their 80%. Right. If they're at 100%, they make their 100%.
Right.
But
marketing wise, again, you got this new agent. How do you, again, to get them those first 3 transactions, right? It's the first step. Obviously, we want them to go beyond that, but getting the first 3, getting them through this 6 weeks, this period of time, it would be great if they had 3 transactions in the first 6 weeks. Right. What do you do from a marketing wise? What do you what are you teaching them, to reach out to that circle of influence? What is your advice you give them?
Well, first of all, I tell them start promoting yourself right away. Even when you start thinking about getting your license, put it out there. Tell your circle of influence, hey, I'm going to get my real estate license. I'm going to start selling houses. If you're planning on buying or selling sometime soon, think of me. I want to give me that opportunity. So most of them, I make them work their circle of influence right away. So they let them know that they are in the business, because a lot of people kind of like become secret agents for some reason. And that's not what you want.
Yeah.
You want everybody to know that now you have your license, that you're excited.
That's a great statement. Do you think they do that because somewhere along the line they don't have the confidence because they're afraid to like put it out there to their friends and family that I'm in real estate, but they in the back of their mind like, well, if I don't last 3 months in the business, what am I going to say? That person who I told them a realtor 3 months ago, but now I'm not. And that's kind of like holding them back from just going, having that leap of faith, really, because that's what they're doing. They're good. Hey, I'm going to be here 3 months. I'm going to be here 6 months, 3 years, whatever. I'm in real estate. Let me know when you're ready. There's just that confidence barrier.
Yeah, and most of us actually, us in general, we're afraid of that criticism from our close people. Yeah, you don't want
the ones we should ignore.
But those are the ones that hurt you the most. Because if your family member, if the good friend says, no, I'm not going to buy with you. I'm going to actually go with this other person because I trust them more than you. That kind of like,
it's a dagger.
It hits.
Yeah.
So, no, I would teach them how to do calls. Sometimes we do cold calling at the office. We do like a call night, and we all make our calls and we kind of like learn from each other. The fact that we are a team, and the fact that I kind of like already kind of have a name in the industry in Jacksonville, I tell them, hey, jump on that boat. Yeah. Hey, you're not just by yourself. You have a whole team.
I got Daniella behind me.
You're right. Yeah. You have a team that is backing you up. You have more experience than just the one that you have right now. You have 20, 30 years of experience on other people in the team that you can rely on. So let them know you're not alone. Right. Let them know that, you have a successful team that are closing deals, that you're going to get the help from until you get solid. Right.
Let's, because I want to expand on marketing. Do you try to have the agents, follow your lead? Because you have an extensive Instagram where you're on there in Spanish 100%. Yeah. I imagine your radio show is 100% Spanish. They can't necessarily duplicate you completely. They can with the Instagram. They could say the same thing you did and just put it on their page, right? And do it. Do you try to teach them to really duplicate a lot of the things that you're doing because you have years of success from it?
Right. The way I teach them, I tell them, look, I'm teaching you out of experience. I already failed on certain things and I kind of dust myself up and kept on going. Right. So I teach them what is working for me currently, not what when I was testing things. Yeah. But yeah, they know how to do marketing. They know how to do Instagram. I encourage them to do videos. Right now, video is what you want to do. Yeah. I invite a lot of my agents. If you see my YouTube, a lot of my paneling is my agents. I invite them to the radio. Yeah. And I make them introduce themselves.
You need to just go ahead and make that a podcast as well.
I actually am building a podcast that they're doing the panels this week. Yeah. And so I'm going to start January with a podcast.
There was, I had Angela Walker on. She does her show on BOB on Saturday mornings. Yeah. Excuse me. And I told her, I said, why are you not videoing your show? Yeah. You've got a guest there. It doesn't take much to pop up a couple cameras because the content that you provide in that hour-long conversation or whatever you're doing is, it would take you months to do that individually. Then you're just sitting down and having like the conversation with them. We could probably, if we wanted to, probably easily cut 20 reels from this hour of really good stuff. That's, the things that you've said and so forth to promote yourself.
Well, I started doing that this year. Because I was recording, I have been doing radio for, I think, 5-6 years. But this year I said, you know what? We need to start recording them. So I have somebody that comes in with the cameras. They put the the 3 cameras and they record the whole show, and that's what I have in YouTube. They're just shorts from the show, from the radio show.
Yeah, no, I know. I went on there and I was like, I would put. I didn't see so many of the full length. Are you putting the full length as well in reels, or just
so bad at it? I just hire somebody that is gonna take care of my YouTube, because that's one of the things. Like when you're in real estate, sometimes you spread yourself too thin,
right?
And we don't realize that we need to start hiring assistant, and certain things we need to start delegating. So I'm delegating that part now, because I promised myself, okay, I'm gonna start uploading 1 video a week, which is kind of the minimum that you have to do on YouTube. I think I have in the back office and the channel, I think I have 30 videos that I have not up.
Well, I mean, we're streaming live right now on YouTube and Facebook. Yeah, I mean, you probably did not. I generally don't bring it up because if you've seen my show, you know already. But because I want to be friendly to YouTube, so I'm giving them live. They like live. Live gets priority on YouTube, and someone's, I guess, if they're strolling through, a live show will come up. I think you ought to go live. But what I do is we're going live right now. If you go into the live category on YouTube, you'll see every show that I've done previously that was live. Then I do send it off, which this gentleman's very inexpensive. We could talk to it after show to send it off, and he could put the intro and the outro, stuff on there, and then send it back to you. Or he could post it on YouTube if you give him access to it. He can do it as well. But and be dropping. So you have your live, you have the pseudo edited version, which in the long form, there's not much editing to do because it's just us conversing. So us pausing or me coughing, this coffee's caught in my throat. That's just natural. People just expect that in the live atmosphere. And then you got your reels. And so you'd be filling up your YouTube at a very rapid pace with a lot of content. I would go live.
I need to start doing that. Yeah. Because right now they're pre-recorded. I record on Thursdays. The show comes on Sunday morning. But it's really like
if you streamed live earlier, and then hey, this is going to be on the recorded for Sunday morning, they can listen to it. But I think you would expand your audience because it would pop up on there, because there are people. When I first started, because people often ask, how do I get started? I actually hired a coach because I didn't never even listened to a podcast before. But this guy was selling me like, hey, influence and credibility. Like, what a great way to meet the real estate agents is to have them come in and listen to their stories. And now it's become a passion because I just love hearing the stories. It's like a personal development thing, to hear everyone's stories and trials and tribulations and success, type of thing. But it was all about downloads. Well, now with Joe Rogan and stuff, people want to like pull it up on YouTube, and when I'm just here working, I'll pull up a podcast really, and it'll be playing on YouTube over there while I'm working. I'm hearing it. Occasionally I'll look over there and look at it, maybe they have a guest on, to actually see their face, but people are watching. That's another medium, right? That's probably a medium for them to get your content.
I listen to YouTube every day. Like in the mornings, I have what is called the Cafecito Inmobiliario. It's like coffee, real estate coffee kind of thing. It's a podcast that a team that we have in Miami, they run every day. And it's great content. It's a great personal development, what you have to do next in the business. So I listen to that every day too.
That's an interesting idea. They're probably they're bringing up a topic, and then they'll talk about it for 15, 20 minutes, maybe half an hour, and that's it.
Yes, exactly.
That's an interesting interesting concept there to put out, because my wife complains about your shows are too long, and I'm like, well, but it's not about really the listener for me. It's about you and hearing your story, and you can't cut someone's story into 30 minutes. It just you can't really get out unless they come on for multiple times. So I was really like, how can I condense it to those who want the little, like NAR has their drive time thing, where I'm sure they keep it to about 30 minutes. Which it sounds like that's what these EXP people are doing. They're keeping a topic that they're doing, so everyone's hearing, everyone's getting a little bit of information, inspiration, 30 minutes on their drive time, and that they're good.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you do like the shorts are great right now.
Yeah.
Because the shorts will kind of pick up the interest of somebody, and then they want to go and listen to the rest of the hour and a half show
Right.
that you might have. My shows are 30 minutes.
Yep.
And I always feel like I need more time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you do talk, you know, you get some people that are really interesting and you want to kind of continue to dig, and then you're like, oh, 2 more minutes.
Yeah, you're like, this is some really good content we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I don't necessarily put it. After about an hour and 15 minutes, we're ready to we'll close up. All right, let me see what else I got here on my list here. Building a team.
Okay.
This is agents have this. Some of them have a dream. Some of them get out way out in front of their skis way too early. I think with you yourself stand out. No one, 84, 89 transactions this year that you're going to end up with. Those are yours. Those aren't the team. Those are Daniella's transactions.
Yeah.
No one can pierce your veil as far as experience. When you say something, it's being said with, I challenge anyone else that has that much experience in what you're teaching. You have the credibility. That's the word I want. Credibility. Where some of these agents are they're getting to point. I want to build a team. Well, there's a lot to a team.
Yeah.
And that's all I want to drill into, because they're getting way out in front of their skis where they're barely doing any production themselves, but they want to build this team. But when it comes to recruiting and then obviously retention, you as the leader, you as the point person, you as the face of the team, that credibility is a big part of that. What are some things that you focus or maybe probably even stress over as far as especially retention? Because I think that if you're going to build a team and you're not holding on to the people, you're never going to be fruitful.
Right.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit. What do you do to make sure that you're consistently adding value? Because you said you have basically 25 followers right now. Yeah.
Well, I started the team first of all because of a customer. I was handling at that point. I was doing like maybe 12 transactions a month by myself, and I had this customer that I was showing her houses, and she was going through divorce with the husband. So it was that bad situation, between the husband and the wife, and they're buying a house together. And at the end of the transaction, she comes to me and she's like, Daniella, I want to get out of what I'm doing. She was working on daycare. She was a daycare person. And she was like, I want to get out of that and I want to do what you're doing. Would you tell me what to do? And I said, okay, you know what? That's great. Let's do it. I'll teach you how to get the license. Right now I have too many transactions. I'll give them to you. You can help me. I'll give you the transactions and you start working. We'll do it 50-50. And she was like, okay, great. So she got her license and we started working 50-50. Another customer. My team started from just customers. My first 6 to 12 agents were just customers that they like working with me, and they would come back later on and tell me, hey, I want to work with you. So my second customer was a gentleman that he was coming from Puerto Rico, moving from Puerto Rico to Jacksonville. He used to be the CEO for Banco Santander in Puerto Rico. So he was coming from banking, and he was retiring, and he was like, you know what? I want to do something. I don't want to just retire. I want to do something that it can be, whenever I want to, kind of thing.
Right.
Why don't I come on real estate? I want to work with you. So those were my first agents. They're still here with me today.
Wow.
6 years later.
That's amazing.
So now the rest of the agents that are coming normally are people that I have never met before. They are just seeing me on social media, and they come in and they say, well, you know what? I want to go and work with you. I'm not a recruiter. I don't go out recruiting, even though I'm an EXP, an EXP is all about recruiting agents. I don't go out recruiting. I have a large team, but they have all come in an organic kind of way.
Right.
Because they have either seen me or they have been my customers, and we have kind of built that relationship, and they trust me enough to even come and work with me afterwards.
Right. The important, I think this, and you agree, disagree, or advise on the statement. The successful teams that I know that have been around for 15 years. I'm thinking of one that's very successful. A lot of people, if you're in real estate, you know her team. that team wouldn't be where it was at without those core people.
Yeah.
And would you say those people that you were just talking about, those initial people who were customers, that initial 6, really, if you can get 6 core people that have been with you for 5 or 6 years,
Yeah.
that is huge in maintaining the growth, but creating a culture. Because you can't be there all the time. You're doing your own business.
Right.
But if you got 6 other people, somebody's in the office at any one time, and that culture's being maintained
Yeah.
because they're all duplicating you.
Well, I'm at the office most of the time. And right now I give out a lot of customers to them too.
Mm-hmm.
So they do get, feeds from me.
Do you make them earn it though? I mean, do they have to, like, if you're, especially like a new agent,
Yeah.
and you say, hey, this is what I need you to do this week. If you want to be successful, I need you to do A, B, and C. If they do A, B, and C, you're more likely to give them.
Yeah. Well, if I see that you're somebody that wants to work and you're willing, I don't mind if you ask me questions.
Right.
I don't. If you tell me, hey, what form do I need to use in this? How do I approach this? What do I tell this agent is telling me this? I'll give you the answer. I don't have a problem.
Right.
But I want to see the willingness to do it.
Right.
Like sometimes I had one agent that I call her and I'm like, hey, I have a customer. I have a customer ready. Do you want it? And she's like, yes. And then crickets. Then she doesn't follow up with me. I grab the customer and give it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Because you're not hungry enough to want to work it.
Yeah. I mean, the
So-
first question, should I call them right now? When do they want
Yeah.
me to call them?
Exactly. Should we meet them?
Yeah.
Where are they at? Can I have their phone number? Can I introduce myself? Like,
Yeah. How do you
be
want to
excited
make the
about it.
transition, right, from
Right.
you to
So
them?
if
Yeah.
you don't want to work it, I don't push you. One of the things I tell all the agents, you are your own company.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not your boss. I'm the head of the team.
Mhm.
I'm the, but I'm not your boss. You are your own company.
Right.
So you're going to work it as much as you want to. You're going to make as much income as you want to, or as little as you want to. Because in real estate, really, the sky is the limit. In real estate,
Right.
I've been growing up every year. Every year, my income has been progressing from the year before. So you work it as much as you want to. But we have created a culture. We do a lot of events. We do a lot of charities together. We do a lot of meetups at the office. I have a Zoom meeting every Tuesday night at 6:00 that we all meet, and it's like a training kind of thing. But it's it's very unscripted. It's like, okay, what happened to you this week? What have been your challenges? What have been your wins this week? Let's talk about that. And when we are answering the questions on the challenges, well, the other person is getting your experience, is learning from your experience
Right.
of what happened. So we go through all of us, and that's kind of our meeting on Tuesday, is a training without being training
Right.
set up.
How do you? Because a lot of times people want to put those on,
Mm-hmm.
but people get in they're a little shy, they don't know that their challenge is actually a challenge that probably 3 other people have had that
Mhm.
week, and the fact so they don't. How do you draw that out and make that an actual beneficial meeting?
I think because I have hiring based on personality,
Mm-hmm.
and it has to be chemistry. Because if you're going to be working with somebody for a long time, and I'm going to be helping you, and we're going to be, somehow working together, I want to have that chemistry with that person. So we all get along.
Yeah.
We all get along. There's no judging on each other. I have agents that are very seasoned by now,
Mm-hmm.
and I have new agents coming in, and everybody's willing to lend a hand. Everybody's asking the questions, even if they sound dumb for them at that moment. It's never a dumb question.
Yeah. I've been talking with a few people about putting on a panel, but on the topic, because I think, again, talking to several hundred agents, all are at this level, and some of them are really good agents, and they're actually trying to how do I create my team?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so glad we met today, because your vast knowledge and understanding, I think the pillar to your team, well, not only your business savviness, that's obviously, that's probably understated here. We haven't talked enough about that, but you're doing it yourself. You're not, you're not, hey, I've been in real estate for 6 months now, I want to, or even a year, and I want to start a team and start trying to get some girlfriends together and because I'm seeing a lot of that. And I apologize to some of the people. Please prove me wrong that you and your girlfriends can do it as a team. However, I got someone in front of me that has grown organically. And like you said, the personality, your girlfriend may not actually be the personality you want in that team.
Right.
They might be the one who's off talking stuff about you behind your back and you don't even realize it. Now, it might not be really bad stuff, but just stuff enough to create doubt with the other team members. You know, and the fact that you're doing it, you have a high level of credibility. Obviously, you're very smart and understand the market and what you're doing. That's what I said. That's my personal development day, because I'm like trying to suck it out of you here. Because I think anyone wanting to start a team, there's a lot of the real out there. There's EXP, LPT, all similar kind of concepts there. They need to come and have a chat with you and what you're doing, because you probably could have a team many times bigger, but how many actually would be producing, right? You could tell everyone, hey, I have 100 people in my downline, right? But how many are actually making sales, and you're not focused on it. You're focused on the individuals that are coming to you organically. And I think some of these places have gone to the personality test. It sounds like you're doing your personality test by just having a conversation with them and feeling, they're trying to get a work ethic, an idea what they're there, and that sort of thing when you bring someone up.
Or in this business, we see so many people on a daily basis. When you're doing the loan for somebody, you kind of like know the type. We have to learn how to read people. That's the one thing, because you have to, not just to sell them something, you have to learn how to read them, but you kind of know the person that is actually looking at you in the eye, that's being honest, the one that is kind of fidgety. Sometimes and you're like, oh, they're lying. So we know how to read people. And I think that I have learned how to do that with people in general. And for me, it's really important that I get good apples. Now, I have had bad apples on the team, and I have kind of like railed them out in a nice way, but they're no longer with me.
Right.
I have had to clean house sometime because of that. But it's the nature of the business. Yeah.
You've got to be prepared. And every time someone leaves that obviously was a good apple and they leave, it rips a little bit of your heart. But that's anywhere. I mean, if you're managing people or, a leader of any group, and someone decides they want to, that's
Yeah, to me, in Spanish, I call them mis pollitos. So they're like my the chicken with the little chickens. I'm like very overly protective with them. So I take care of them a lot. And sometimes when you get disappointed, it really hurts. But hey,
let's finish up with this. Just what do you think right now with this current market conditions? Kind of maybe different than maybe 12 or 24 months ago. Things that you're doing differently today in the course of your business because of the current market conditions. You're doing really well, but I think a lot of listings are lasting a little longer. So what are you doing? A couple things you're doing differently today than you were 12, 24 months ago.
I think I'm fortunate to be working the kind of customer that I'm working. For me, focusing on the Latino community, our business, that I have seen a lot of realtors this year that, serve a different kind of community. They are not really doing the numbers that they normally do. Our numbers grew because what we are doing right now, we're focusing more on the foreign person investing in the country. So we are tapping into that market, the outside of the market.
Immediate area, right.
The immediate area.
Because there's not that, I always joke with when the rates were 3%, people were moving from community to community locally. So you were doing sales
Exactly.
internally. You're reaching out because to the foreign investor, it's not that big of a deal, or they're bringing their money from somewhere
Right.
else.
Because right now, our country is like, no matter where you go in South America, we're going through some sort of economy situation that the people that they have the means and they have money that they want to secure it in a. We think that this is not stable in here, but it's really stable. It's a stable market.
Yeah.
So they are investing in here to secure their funds. So we have been focusing a lot on the foreign investor. And locally, for me, has been new construction. Is sadly to see, but right now, new construction has rates that the banking
Well, especially for
doesn't offer.
first-time home buyers, it's a
Yes.
real, they're covering a lot of the cost, if not
Yeah.
all the cost. The rates are low.
Very
You can
low.
get them
Yeah.
introduced.
Oop.
Everything's on a timer. That means we're going too long. Anything you'd like to add?
No. Thank you so much for having me.
I
This was so
appreciate
much
this.
fun.
This is a really good
I
show.
didn't know what to expect. I was like, hey, I'm not gonna think about anything. Just have
Well,
a
I'd like to periodically call out, even if we do it virtually, but to get that angle of what's going on. What are you doing? Kind of like a little update, every 6 months to say, this is what I'm seeing, this, type of thing. And like I said, even if we do it virtually, I always, put the video out there. I think people, I think you could be a huge resource for the agents that are listening that, just to call you and get your angle on certain situations, because I think you've absorbed so much, and with the lending side, I mean, just how you do business is amazing. So
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you for coming on.